The Entrepreneurial Journey Podcast. We're talking business and building a culture that's kick-ass. Where we make it happen, grab your seat, let's have a blast. At the Entrepreneurial Journey Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Entrepreneurial Journey Podcast. Today I have Jenny Fennelly with me. Is that how I pronounce your surname, Jenny?
Close enough.
Well, how do you say it?
Fennelly.
Fennelly. Okay, brilliant. And you are a business relationship manager with DHL. And you are an unusual guest on my podcast because you are not a self-employed business owner, entrepreneur, or however we want to describe those people out there. You and I have come across each other on LinkedIn, and you describe yourself as a radical centrist, which I like. And I describe myself as a capitalist hippie. So between us, we wanted to explore I
think we could have an interesting conversation, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. So we're not necessarily going to talk much about corporate land, but we may touch on it. I'm not sure. We'll find out. Now, the discussion we kind of got into was about where have all the people gone, wasn't it? I posted something that was very much, where's everybody gone? Why can't people find employees? And it was, that was in Portugal, it was in Germany, it was in the United States. So it wasn't all Brexit's fault. We can't just blame Brexit. And tell me what your response was, because this is where I got really interested.
So I can't remember exactly what my response was, but my feeling about why we're having this issue with recruitment is multifold, really. I think one is we've seen a sustained level of profit or increase in profit over the last probably 30, 40 years, but wages have not increased in line with productivity and profit, right? So people's earnings have plateaued while profits have gone up. So this has had the effect, obviously, of increasing the wealth gap. Maybe that's not obvious. So there's more and more profit being made. Ultimately, that's been dispersed out into company owners, CEOs. We know that their pay has gone up, and really the high echelons of society. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not anti-entrepreneurial. I'm not a socialist. I'm not, any of that kind of thing. But because more and more is going to the top, there's less and less going to the bottom. So wages have gone up, but more gradually. In society, it's not poverty that causes social dissatisfaction, depression, crime. It's inequality, right? And inequality has both a societal impact and also a personal impact. And this has been proven by long-term analysis on the careers of civil servants and other people in society that shows that even if in a corporate environment or the civil service environment, if inequality is large between the top echelons and the bottom, the people at the bottom are more depressed, more ill, more stressed. So this is a well-proven phenomena in social studies, right? So my theory is that people are feeling less motivated, less inclined to want to work. And certainly if they do go out to work, they want more. So if we think in terms of supply and demand affects not only prices, it affects the price of labor as well. So, the price of labor is being pushed up, and that just doesn't mean cash. That means incentives. It means what do I want in return for my time, which is my most valuable commodity? I want flexible working. I want to be able to spend more time with my children. I want a nice office environment. I want some time. I want to work from home sometimes. I want to, so people are just, I think, twofold. After the pandemic, people realized that they wanted more and they liked more time to themselves. And two, they are demotivated by this sense of inequality and injustice, I think. And whether that's people would say that out overtly or even recognize that, I don't know. But this is what I think is happening.
It's really interesting. I don't disagree with anything you're saying. And I think what I want to explore here is the difference to how it feels to run a small to medium-sized enterprise business compared to running a corporate. So all the SME business owners I've spoken to feel the squeeze, I think, as perhaps as much as the corporate employees further down the food chain, the ladder, however we want to describe it, the salary scale. So is it that, because one of the things that I'm really passionate about is building small to medium-sized enterprises, because I believe they're the backbone of every economy on the planet. And so are the big corporates also
100%.
Squeezing them? Right. Okay. So what is it
and I absolutely
is it
agree
just
with
this
you.
chasing the chef? Go on, Jenny.
I'm really sorry. The connectivity is not great. Can you hear me? Because the connectivity
Don't worry
is not
about
great.
it. We have software.
Very good.
Yeah, I can hear you fine. We have software that stops
okay.
the gaps,
So I'll just ignore
don't worry,
it.
We'll just relax.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's just carry on. Okay. So I'm going to be honest here, and this probably isn't a career move, but I think it's really important to say there is my feeling is in the corporate world, we have lost the service culture. And I'm not necessarily talking about my company. I'm talking in general. So in the olden days, they were all SMEs, weren't they? Basically, weren't these giant corporations.
Yeah, they were.
And a lot of people set up businesses not just to make money, but to provide a service. So your grocer would be your friend down the road, and they would make money, obviously, and lots of money probably. But they also, if you said, "Oh, can you get me in this certain kind of flour?" or "Can you," they would like, "Oh yeah, I can do that," or and the guy who set up Boots was a philanthropist. He made money, but he also wanted to serve the community by getting the medicines that they wouldn't otherwise be able to afford, and that kind of thing. And I think, and I'm not naive to think, everybody was a philanthropist and, there was no greed or anything. But I think, even up to like the 60s, businesses were about not only making money, but also about providing service. Whereas now I think it's just, for big corporations, it's just extracting profit. That's it. They do everything they can to keep us away from them. You have phone trees 6 buttons long. Everything, you can't even phone us. You have to contact us via email. It's like they're trying to keep us away from them, and what we make in terms of quick transactions, and it's brilliant. You can go on Amazon, right? And I feel sad sometimes because the only way I can get a product is to go on Amazon, and because I try and, even go to Argos or some that's at least, a local in the sense of UK business. But, I don't, and I think we've lost that culture of wanting to provide a service. It's about profit. So digitalization isn't about reducing the hours for people. It's about reducing the number of people so we can make more money. Digitization is not really about customer journey and convenience. It's about not being able to employ people, So this is, and I think this is why I love small businesses, because I think they still retain some of that, and we have cowboys and that, we know that, but they retain, some of that. I got into this because I want to do a good job and I love it. I love my business and I love what I'm doing and I love interacting with customers and, that kind of thing. So, I'm not against people making money. Far from it. What I deplore is greed. That's my thing, and just being in it to make money with no other purpose whatsoever. I think I'm very much a believer in purpose driven. And if you've got a big company and make millions with a purpose driven enterprise that you're really adding value, go for it. There's benefit for both of us. And that's what capitalism and economics is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about mutually beneficial transactions, not one side extracting as much as they can out of this transaction and the other one having to do it because they have to eat or they have to heat their homes or they have to heat. That's not mutually beneficial to me, and so that's why I say I'm a radical centrist. I'm not a socialist, but I do believe business should be, it should be mutual.
I agree. I think a radical centrist and a hippie capitalist are one and the same. Definitely.
It sounds like
and I'd like to look at examples. It does sound like it, because I often look back, because we learn so much from history, and you look at the Rowntrees, the chocolate empire, and you look at way back Unilever, and there are other organizations who I can't remember, but they set up, you just see it in the mills, actually. They way back when there were mills, the really good mill owners created schools, hospitals, good housing, health, welfare, and all kinds of things. And actually, I wonder whether the big corporates who are only focusing on profit have forgotten that side of the purpose for building a business, have forgotten that actually it's about supporting communities, and the communities, and I'm going to use that word again, serve the communities you serve. And I think you've hit the nail on the head there. They've forgotten who they serve. That's really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is why, and it benefits nobody. So if we look, I don't necessarily think we need a high tax economy. Like I said, I'm not a big government person, which to a lot of my lefty friends, they really don't understand me. But I think it's dangerous look at the state we're in now, putting all the power in, the hands of a few people. I think somewhere along the line we've gone wrong there. I don't think the government should provide every service known to man. I think there are certain services that make sense for government to provide because they're essential and we need them, and and all that. But what businesses, the people who are taxes, theft and blah blah blah, seem to forget, if you're screwing people down on wages, unless you literally want people on the street, somebody has to top up their wages, provide them, with healthcare and education and things like that, because they can't afford it. So you can't simultaneously moan about tax and also screw people down on wages. You either give them the wages to provide for themselves, or the government has to do it. Or, like I said, are we getting to the point where we're looking at fascism and people are useless eaters now? What do we want as a society? And I think we want a level for people to thrive, not go to Barbados twice a year or anything like that, but a normal family. To me, I get very passionate about this. If somebody's working in a family, or a person and a half, mum goes out perhaps, or dad, whoever's in taking care of the kids, if they're working and doing what they're supposed to be, and this is what annoys me about things, if you're following the social guidelines, I work, I'm raising my family well, I'm sending them to school, I don't think you should worry about whether you can heat your home and feed your kids. I don't think it's unreasonable to want to go to the cinema once a week or have a bottle of wine, or, we're here, we have one life. We should be able to enjoy it, and people who go, oh, I bet they've got Sky and they're moaning about being poor. I'm like, you're seriously saying somebody who goes to work, what, they should just burn all the furniture and, and then and heat themselves in their fingerless gloves on their burnings, and then they can say they're poor, This is
that's quite funny. Yeah, there's a balance, and I think what we've experienced the past few years is that magnifying glass due to the global lockdowns, and people with less have got less, even less now, and people who are struggling more now, and we've got to try and bring it back into balance. It was never perfect, ever. But I don't think you'll ever reach that perfect system due to human nature.
No.
We kind of muddle through the best we can. And I agree with you. I think small government is good. I think there was that phrase, wasn't there? The most scary phrase in the world is that one where the government official turns up and says, "I'm from the government and I'm here to help you." You know, we should panic at that point, because that's never going to work out well.
Well,
but yeah, and
I think there are. I think there is a place for government, and I think, you know, I certainly am not that cynical about it, because I do think, you know, otherwise we need law, we need some framework, we need, you know, something. I think, frankly, Rebecca, we need to be more involved. We can't just abdicate our responsibility in society to the government, right? If we were more involved in government, we wouldn't be scared of the government, right? The problem is we're apathetic, we don't care, we don't want to pay tax, and then we go, oh, the government are rubbish, right? We need a government, we need a framework, so let's get involved with it. And I've posted today and said, if you seriously think the government we've got today is the best we can do, get off your arse and do something about it, because it's not good enough.
It's true. So I've had an email. I'm going to let you into a secret. I live in Scotland, so we have an interesting political landscape here in Scotland.
Oh, you're so lucky. Yes.
Well, you say that, Jenny. You say that. And
well, I'm not talking politically.
We'll I was going to say, yeah, because I wouldn't wish sturgeon on anyone. But yeah, in terms of our life, our quality of life, you know, I'm really lucky. I live in one of the most beautiful cities in the world, Edinburgh, and we've got access to beaches and hills, and you know, it's amazing.
Love Edinburgh.
It is. I'm very, very lucky. Yeah, it is. It's a really nice place, and so what getting involved is really interesting. It's easy to get involved in Scotland because it's quite small, actually. How easy is it to get involved in politics in England, and what steps are you taking?
So it's not easy, but it would be if more of us did it, right? I've got another one of Jen's things on here. But how am I personally involved? I work for the Green Party, the local Green Party. I'm the electoral returns officer. So I organise all the candidates. So I reach out to the community and invite candidates, and then I do all the forms processing and blah, blah, blah. And then I arrange the hustings and all that side of things. And I also hand out leaflets. And I hope my Green Party friends don't hear this. I'm not as politically aligned with the Green Party. However, they're very good locally, and I'm a great believer in local involvement, and they are really good locally. They're involved, they help people, and that's what I love about it. And so that's why I'm involved. Labour, very apathetic where they are, because and as are the Tories, because most of the time they're never going to, if it's a safe seat, it's a safe seat, and they're like, oh, we don't care. Whereas the Greens are always fighting, so they're always hungry, if you like, and want to make a difference. So that's how I'm involved. So I don't just talk the talk, I do walk the walk, which I think is really important. And I think one reason we're not involved locally, and I use politics with a small p as well, so it doesn't have to be party politics, it can just be involved in your local community. Do you volunteer with elderly people? Do you help, deliver shopping? Do you care when there's going to be a change in your community, like some houses being built or a road being built or the school is falling apart? Are you on the governors? So I'm on the parent governor as well. If you complain about the school, are you getting involved with the school? All these things, not just local government sat in on a council, somewhere, parish council. We don't have time, Rebecca. Both parents work. Most parents have kids. Most of us have got virtual ADHD these days because we've got so much going on. Either you're very important, you've got a demanding job, or you might be struggling to put food on your table. So why are you going to sit on a parish council meeting or go and volunteer somewhere else? Or, and I think, so I do say to people, stop being apathetic, but at the same time, do we have the space to be that involved, And I'm very, very passionate, which is why I'm involved. It was very easy for me because I'm very busy as well to not be involved, but I'm very passionate. If you're not as passionate, we're in a tricky environment. We're socially.
Yeah. So I've been thinking about this a lot, and I agree with you. I think people are quite apathetic, and I understand why, for all of those reasons that you've described. I take it down to an even smaller level, actually, and I've come up with family, community, environment. And if we can and when I say family, I mean family and friends. And a family could be a unit of one person and their cat, or one person and their neighbour. So, yeah, definitely. And I think if we can focus on looking after ourselves, taking responsibility for ourselves and our outcomes at the tiniest level, and then once we've kind of got that sorted, we can then go, okay, well, now let's look at the wider community. We can sort and help the wider community. And then once we've done a little bit of that, we maybe, if we have time, the energy and space, we can then look a little bit more at the environment. I think a lot of what people struggle with at the moment is everything seems so big. Everything seems so overwhelming.
Yes.
And they'll go, well, it's just me. What difference can I make? What impact can I make? I can't do anything about the economy or Putin or, climate doing what the climate's doing. I can't do anything about that. And I think people just then are like rabbits in the headlights. And actually, what entrepreneurs are really good at, and the small business owners are really good at, is going, well, what can I impact here and now? What can I control here and now? And I'll make a difference to that. And I think we need to get back to a little bit. You talk about the grocer down the road in the 60s. I think that was the difference, because they looked out for their neighbours, they looked out for the community, and they focused on that. And then it spreads, and then the goodness spreads, and you get lots of little pockets of that. And all of a sudden, you've got a much better functioning society.
See, we are totally aligned, and we thought we wouldn't be, and we are. So I did a post about exactly that, and I got some people up in arms about when I said small government, but I said exactly that. We need to regain community. And I like your idea of starting small, like even within your own environment. I think that's even better because, like you say, you can impact that. But I was saying exactly that. But the other thing is, remember that women didn't used to work. So they used to be over the gate posts. How you doing, Mavis? Blah, blah, blah. They can't, there's no time for community involvement. The kids were running around the street, blah. It was totally different. And I don't know how, with two parents working, a lot of people struggle. And it's those struggling communities that need that sense of community. If you're struggling, I don't know if you've had mental health issues. I have. If you are depressed, you don't want to look after yourself, let alone anyone else. And inequality, like I said at the beginning, makes people depressed. And so how you break this vicious cycle of people and people are very judgmental about people in poverty, and they don't care, they don't give a crap about their houses, they don't give it. A lot of that, I'm not making excuses, and I totally am somebody who says you are responsible for yourself, right? But we have to give people the tools to be able to do that. We can't give them nothing and make them live hand to mouth and then say, you should be making some money yourself. We need to give them the good education, a good start in life, and give them the tools. And then if they fall because they can't be bothered, then, but we need to get out of this mentality that everybody starts, everybody's got this opportunity. I wish that was the case. It isn't. It'd be naive, really, or it's an excuse that wealthy people make to say everybody's got a chance. Exceptional people break out of poverty. Of course they do. They do it all the time. But most of us are just ordinary. Most of us aren't, Musk or Bezos or, most of us are just ordinary, and it's hard to get out of a cycle of poverty and depression and, all that kind of thing. So
if you were Prime Minister...
Yeah, I don't know what the answer is.
If you were PM, Jenny, what would you do?
What would I do? Right. Now, this is hard because I don't believe in minimum wage. I believe in... because I think that puts your SMEs out at a disadvantage. So if we say we have to pay everybody £15 an hour, your guys aren't going to be able to compete with the Jeff Bezos of life. What your guys can do is say, I know I can only pay you £12 an hour, but I'm happy with you going off at 3:30 and going to get your kids. I'm happy if you, and you'll be looked after. I'll guarantee you a job for 5 years. They can give other things. And I would hope they would give other things that people value now. I'll let you have a Thursday afternoon off to go and learn French or, whatever, they can offer. So if you do minimum wage, they can't make those accommodations and that might make a job more attractive. So I'm not into minimum wage. I've written it down what I would do if I was Prime Minister. Tax breaks for paying a living wage. Right. So big companies get a tax break for paying wage. So they give it so people don't have to go, because we pay 70 billion in work benefits anyway a year. Right. But that's a handout. So why not use that 70 billion to incentivize business to pay the money so people feel more self-respect? They're not claiming benefits. That has a beneficial impact on their self-esteem, which therefore better impacts society. Incentivize, give tax breaks for more training, more development, so that people can skill themselves up, so they've got more growth opportunities. So I really would start with the workers. That's my thing. It's how we give workers more self-esteem, more room to improve and grow. So that's I've got other things, but that would be my first thing to do. And give more money to SMEs for development. But also I would have shares in those businesses into a sovereign wealth fund that we could then put into youth schemes, art, sport, all that kind of thing. Things that normally get left because we're building roads and hospitals and stuff like that. So I've got loads of ideas.
Okay. So I've had an email round because I'm a member of the Tory party for various reasons in Scotland. And I know. Look, and we got on so well. Well, we did until I told you that.
No,
actually.
Yeah.
But
I know. Bye.
It's very reasons in Scotland that I'm a member of the Tory party, and anybody who has lived under the SNP will probably have empathy for me. It's very difficult to know who to vote for here if you want to stay part of the United Kingdom. Anyway, but the email has gone round. Do you want to stand for MP? I'm thinking, well, maybe I do because or I don't know whether I don't have the time, I run a business, but maybe I need to put my money where my mouth is. And my biggest change would be investing in women and children's services. Or the key parent, the person who is the key parent for the child, whoever that is, and whatever kind of relationship that is, it's usually women, but not always. I would invest really heavily in early years, mum and baby stuff, parent and baby stuff, and that primary education, because I'm a massive believer in that whole, I think it was the Jesuits, wasn't it, who said, take a child and give me them until they're 6 and I'll give you it was the boy, I'll give you the man. And it's
7.
true, it's that investment in really early stages that I think is critical.
And you know that the Sure Start scheme that Labour started, they I think it was the University of York did a study that said, that's absolutely supports you, that said the whole life outcomes of children that had gone through the Sure Start scheme, so this was aimed at families in poverty, basically, the whole life outcomes were the gap between the children in poverty and the kind of upper middle class was closed considerably. Exactly that, because those early formative years are so vital. And this is why I don't think our conservatives, as they are now, are true conservatives, because true conservatives are build yourself up by your bootstraps, work hard, but also give people opportunities to do that. And this thing I said about, not depending on government and having to, provide for yourself. Well, a true conservative wants to give people the tools to provide for themselves. You can't say, as I said before, you can't, don't rely on government if you don't give people the means to look after themselves. So that's why I think they aren't real conservatives. Totally. And I think what you've said, I think that actually isn't socialist. I think that is giving people the tools to live productive, working lives, So
I agree.
I think there's a lot of crossover between the political spectrums if they actually, and left is more socialist, but I think actually the goals are very, very similar. We want people to thrive. And I think, unfortunately, the Tories in the Parliament at the moment don't want people to thrive. They want certain people to get very, very, very wealthy. And,
right. Jenny, normally I finish by asking the question if you
bring some of that sense to it.
Yeah, I think my husband might leave me. No, if I normally ask the question, if your business had a personality or a character, how would you describe it? But you don't have a business, so who do you admire? All right, I'm going to leave it with that. Who inspires you, Jenny?
Oh gosh. Do you know what? This is going to sound really odd and pretentious. I don't have individuals, but I really love like philosophy and economics and stuff like that. So I'm inspired by things that I read and hear and philosophical thoughts from all different kinds of people. So it's really hard for me to pick one individual because I don't think anybody's perfect, and I'm not really the hero worship type person. That's not to say I don't think there are loads of amazing people, but I would say more philosophy in general, probably, and ideas.
Cool. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts today. I really appreciate it. An unusual entrepreneurial journey podcast, really but I felt it was important that we. Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and best of luck with your career.
The Entrepreneurial Journey podcast. We're talking business and building a culture that's kick-ass.